सूरज की पहली किरण के साथ दिन की शुरुआत कीजिए। सुबह का मंगल प्रभात आपको शुभ हो। सुबह सुबह हो खुशियों का मेला, ना लोगों की परवाह ना दुनिया का झमेला। पंछियों का संगीत हो और मौसम अलबेला। मुबारक हो आपको ये खूबसूरत सवेरा। हर सोमवार से लेकर शुक्रवार तक सुबह 6 से लेकर 9 बजे तक शामिल रहें रेडियो फिजी 2 पर हम सफर में रविंद्र सिंह के साथ।
Sophie.
And I'm Tix.
You can join us on The Breakfast Show
every weekday from Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. right here on Today FM.
That's right. Tonight, 2 separate businesses destroyed by fires within 24 hours. Mobil Oil investigates an incident regarding a fuel tank at its Wallu Bay terminal. An Electoral Commission line up likely to be known soon. Good evening, I'm Jackie Spate and this is FBC News. 2 businesses have been destroyed in 2 separate fires in the last 24 hours. Police are investigating fires at the Ready Diamond shop in Lautoka and the Nationwide Service building in Nandi. Shireen Lata has more.
The National Fire Authority was informed about the fire at Ready Diamond Group building in Marine Drive, Lautoka at 10 p.m. yesterday. Police and fire officers rushed to the scene but couldn't save the building.
When the team arrived, the top floor of the Ready Diamond building was on fire, the first floor. Fire had spread quickly because the floor of the building is wooden and there were other combustible materials.
Firefighters did, however, manage to control the fire from spreading to other nearby buildings.
It's a huge fire, one of the biggest fire this year, due to the magnitude of the fire and the intensity of the fire because of the materials in the building. It was quite difficult, challenging to fight the fire, and had it spread, then the situation would have been really worse for Marine Drive and also the workshops attached at the
Ready Diamond Group Managing Director Ram Reddy says around 20 employees used to work in the factory. However, no one was in the building at the time of the incident. In a separate incident about 4 hours before the Lautoka fire, Nationwide Services in Nandi was also destroyed in a fire.
Our team were able to enter the building using breathing apparatus and so forth, and managed to contain the fire very quickly. So in terms of the damages were quite minimum.
Nationwide Services Administration Manager Reena Raju says they are awaiting a response from the National Fire Authority before they can comment. The NFA is investigating both incidents. The cost of damage is still unknown. Shireen Lata, FBC News.
Officers from the National Fire Authority were this afternoon monitoring the mobile fuel terminal at Wallu Bay outside Suva. The lid of one of the fuel tanks is said to have burst, prompting authorities to take precautionary measures. Chanel Sivan was at the scene.
At around lunchtime today, the Mobil depot was cordoned off. Streets were also closed. In a statement to FBC News, Mobil Oil says it was advised of an issue with the lid of a fuel storage tank at the Wallu Bay terminal in Suva. People around the terminal heard a loud noise as a section of the tank roof was dislodged during a routine refueling operation.
We were working here around 12 o'clock. I had a loud sound. And when I see it was already open on top. When the impact of the sound, and we see the fume vapors coming out, so we alerted the security from the sides and they went to see what happened there.
The National Fire Authority will be controlling the movement of traffic at the Wallu Bay and Argo Street. This morning, more fire trucks were called in from other fire stations.
Now, this tank behind me is the reason for all the commotion in Wallu Bay, just outside Suva. As I stand here, there's a strong smell of fuel permeating through the air.
Mobil Oil confirms there were no injuries and there is no risk to the safety of the neighboring businesses. However, it has advised that there may be minimal disruption to the fuel supply. Traffic has been temporarily disrupted as the road in front of the terminal has been partially closed off and traffic redirected accordingly. Operations at the terminal have temporarily suspended as a full investigation is underway. Chanel Shivan, FBC News.
Acting Prime Minister and Minister for Elections Said Qayyum has confirmed that some people have been identified and have agreed to be in the Electoral Commission. The Commission will oversee the implementation of election procedures, preparations and the execution of the polls. Chanel Sivan reports.
Said Qayyum says they need to appoint 7 commissioners to direct the elections office and supervisor of elections, who is also yet to be appointed.
Well, we hope to have the Electoral Commission in place very soon. Some people have been identified and have agreed to be in the commission. But as you know, we need to appoint 7 commissioners. So once we have the full complement, then of course the names will be recommended to the Constitutional Officers Commission, and then the appointments can take place thereafter. It is important to have the electoral commissioners in place because they also have a say in the appointment of the supervisor of elections.
He says they had approached some people for the positions, but they were reluctant because of the travel bans, as Australia and New Zealand had put in place.
People had been appointed to various boards and committees, etc. Australia and New Zealand had placed travel bans not only on them, but of course their spouses and their parents and children, nephews, nieces, etc. So there was a lot of hesitation. We have received, however, letters from the Australian and New Zealand missions here to say travel bans won't apply to people who become electoral commissioners.
The acting Prime Minister adds that despite telling people that there won't be travel bans, some are still skeptical because of the 7-year-long history of travel bans. Meanwhile, phase 2 of overseas voter registration starts early next year in Australia. Said Qayyum says although they weren't happy with the outcome in New Zealand, they have made some observations.
Some of the lessons that we're building upon, and indeed we hope to better ourselves for Australia. At the end of the day, in any case, New Zealand is not that far away, and if need be, there's a lot of interest has been shown that people do want to register, and they still want the elections office to go out, and the last pockets of people want to be registered. Obviously the elections office will cater for that.
The government is still planning to end polling in one day. Chanel Shivan, FBC News.
An academic from the University of the South Pacific feels any new strategy on conservation must clearly indicate the need to protect all of our ecosystems. Professor Randy Thaman made the statement at the 9th Pacific Island Conference on Nature Conservation and Protected Areas underway in Suva.
Basically, Professor Randy Thaman pointed out that any national development strategy must ensure the protection of agriculture, forests, river, home garden and reef ecosystems.
All of those have to feature in the plan for sustainable development.
The 70-year-old champion of conservation in the Pacific says the plan should clearly recognize the protection of our biodiversity.
But what I hear here in many of the discussions is that there's still many times talking about a protected area or a natural landscape. The protection of biodiversity is much, much more than Western conservation. It is the sustainable use and protection of all the taro, the yams, all of the fruit trees, all of that, all of the native trees, our mangroves, our coastal littoral forest, probably Gelelebu, the atoll. We need to protect that forest because that is the only thing that is really on the front line of climate change.
The 5-day conference will put together a strategy on conservation and protected areas for implementation by countries and support organizations in the next 5 years.
So to me, I would just like to see this embracing thing that clearly states that whether we're in land use planning or anything, is that we first recognize what is the biodiversity there, what are the threats to that biodiversity, whether it is invasive alien species or diseases, whether it's climate change, whether it is poor land use practices. So whenever we have a new project, whether it's mining, residential, is that we decide on which ecosystems we must protect.
The 9th Pacific Island Conference on Nature Conservation and Protected Areas resumes tomorrow at the Vodafone Arena in Navassa. Mikalonga, FBC News.
Leading Pacific environmentalists were recognized for their contribution to the region's biodiversity last night. At the inaugural Pacific Islands Environment Leadership Awards, Acting Prime Minister and Attorney General Aisaid Qayyum commended the participants for their efforts in safeguarding the environment. Awards were given in 4 categories recognizing excellence in nature conservation.
These awards recognize the special contributions of the many and even countries which have collectively promoted conservation. The winners are setting a standard to which we must all aspire to meet our obligation to preserve our natural surroundings for the continued health and well-being of every Pacific Islander now and of course in the future.
This award ceremony was held at the Vodafone Arena in Laucala Bay, Suva. Still to come on FBC News, USP focused on providing more dormitories for its growing student base.
I wake up in the morning, I prefer to go down to the gym, get a bit of physical work done. Also later on in the day, I decide to go through for meditation. I do a bit of reading to find out what the latest songs are, a bit of research. And for me, it's all about the listeners.
Hey, what's up? I'm Rio, and this is the Traffic Jam every weekday from 3 o'clock to 7, only on Today FM. Today's hit music. What's up?
Bola, oya wasala vilawa. Do pata ki au mena diwa kina tini karona kaloko na single boni moniti kina varomboka. Kako ni valatana no musini sari na kai samariando loloma leone vani ni nau. Omgori ke de mena diwa kina tini karona kaloko na single boni moniti kina varomboka na Bula FM number 2 en sere.
Welcome back. This is FBC News. The University of the South Pacific is focusing on new residence halls for students at all its campuses. Some construction is already underway in Fiji and other sites in the Pacific. Vice-Chancellor Professor Rajesh Chandra says they need about 300 rooms to cater for the demand. Building new hostels, especially for students traveling in from other parts of the region, is a priority for USP.
We have the construction already underway for a student hostel. It's very important for the university to have enough student accommodation both at the Laucala campus and other campuses.
Some halls of residence are already under construction. Vodafone is advising all its customers that there is a hoax text message being sent to some Vodafone mobile numbers. The message has been traced to a network in Latvia and Belarus in the Baltic region of Northern Europe. It does not identify who it is from, but asks customers to urgently call back to an overseas number. Vodafone says the intention is to defraud the customer. Vodafone Fiji network has blocked trace hoax numbers from sending any more text messages and will continue to do so when scams are identified. Vodafone notes that if an offer looks too good to be true and asks for advance payment, it's most likely a fraud. It also says the company advertises all of its promotions and winners through local media in a fair and transparent manner. We turn to sports now, and Jamie, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, coming up, we find out what's been the driving force behind the champion Yamadia side from Navassa, and FBC Sports Hall of Famer Joe Roden lays down a challenge for younger athletes. Find out more after the break.
Bula, I'm Wame. Join me every weekday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on The Center Show with classic hits from the 70s as well as the 80s right here on Gold FM.
नमस्ते दोस्तों, मिर्ची रफ्तार से मैं अश्निल सिंह। शामिल हो जाइए हमारे साथ मंडे टू फ्राइडे फ्रॉम 3 to 7 p.m.
Welcome back to FBC Sports. The Digicel Fiji 7 side has arrived in South Africa for the Port Elizabeth tournament this weekend. Following the Dubai tournament win, the side is looking at making it back-to-back victories. And 3 days after Dubai, they are still drawing praise.
What I loved about the performance was that it was laced with skill, it was laced with an incredible amount of passion, but more importantly, they fed off each other. And sport is always about momentum, especially sevens. And once you get that momentum and you get that possession, every player wants to raise that bar even further to deliver a result. And that's what you saw. There was an energy within that team. The crowd responded. And when you play in an arena like this, it is unbelievable.
The South Africa Sevens starts on Saturday. And still with sevens, the Yamathia Sevens side has been raising eyebrows lately with brilliant performances in local sevens competitions. After winning the Bailey's Coral Coast Sevens, they added the Wairiki title to the cabinet over the weekend. Indra Singh finds out what's making this team from Navassa click.
Yamathia tearing the opposition apart.
Sports and social responsibility has long been responsible for bettering the community. And this is exactly what the champion Yamathia rugby side is doing, coupled with their success on the field.
The efforts are being recognized, especially going back to the village. They are actually proud of what we're doing, and especially from the province itself, Navassa, the whole Fiji. As soon as Navassa comes up, it's just drugs. It's just the negative things that comes up. But now, since we thank the Lord so much, the mindset now is slowly changing. Instead of the negative, it's positive.
The success story of this Navassa-based side is an example for many. Rugby sevens in particular has been key to improving the youths of Fiji and the Navassa region.
You have to have a little bit of sacrifice, and you have to put your mind outside of after that tournament, or what you want to become after that. It's not just that. That's not the end of everything. So
religion and sports has long been an inspirational mix for the country. This is the same for the Yamathians, who are very religious in their approach.
Boost for us was our faith in God. Most of the boys, they used to take it for granted, and then they just use God when it's a need, when they're in trouble or something.
Maybe this is the start of great things for the side on the field and off it as well. But for sure, gone are the days when Navassa was only known for other less than good reasons. And in their own words, Jisoko na Yamathia, translated means, that's Yamathia for you. Indra Singh, FBC Sports.
A number of major decisions were made at the Oceania Football Confederation Executive Committee over the weekend. The appointment of Fiji FA President Rajesh Patel to the committee was one of the major decisions. Amongst other matters, Ba, Lautoka and Nandi were approved to host the Champions League. Also, age grade format will now take place in the under 16 and under 19 grades instead of under 17 and under 20. This will give teams at least 1 year to prepare for the World Cup. The first competition under the format will be the OFC Under 19 Men's Championship from May 22nd to 30th, 2014. A new competition has also been approved. The OFC President's Cup will be played by the Champions League winner and runners-up, 2 teams from the Asian Football Confederation and 2 invitational sides scheduled for November 2014. Fiji Sports Hall of Famer Joe Roden Sr. has issued a sporting challenge to all young athletes witnessing this weekend's first Masters Association Games at the NZ Stadium in Suva. The 400-meter South Pacific Games specialist is one of many big names of yesteryears competing in the one-day event, and he's confident he'll bring back a taste of some good old school track action. Elena McDonald reports.
If it was anything to do with the 400 meters, that South Pacific or Mini Games gold medal belonged to this man in his heydays. And returning to the tracks 3 decades later is an opportunity he's not planning on missing out on.
You will see me on the track. I've been training. I've been doing a lot of weight training. But on the track, I'll probably start start next week, start training for the track again. And you will see me on the track. I'll be out there running the 400 meters and sprinting the 100 meters. You will see me there.
Boasting over 2 decades of representing Fiji, which included 2 Olympic Games outings, is an achievement Fiji athletes of today could not attest to. And it's only fueled his friendly challenge to fellow runners this weekend.
Well, the young athletes will be there, you better be training, because Joe will be back.
Who else turns up on Saturday remains to be seen. However, we can be guaranteed some interesting results. Elena McDonald, FBC Sports.
That is your sports for this evening. It's back to Jackie now with business.
New Zealand importers of Fiji fresh produce had an opportunity to discuss their issues with the Ministry of Agriculture team in Auckland this week. This was at a forum organised by the Fiji High Commission as part of the programme for a market scoping mission to Wellington and Auckland. They were led by the Permanent Secretary for Agriculture, Ropate Lingairi. He says the meeting allowed discussions on how to work together to improve fresh produce exports. Lingairi added that although Fiji has a significant market share for some commodities such as taro, this position needs to be consolidated given the real threat from other Pacific Island producers such as Samoa and Tonga. The Permanent Secretary also says the market scoping exercise has proved valuable in providing an insight into critical issues around Fiji's fresh produce exports. Weather time now, and let me guess, Jen, more showers.
Jackie, I'm impressed. You have been paying attention. Jokes aside, it wasn't just rain. Nandi and Lautoka also had a bit of thunder and lightning in the afternoon, which was rather strange considering the west had fine conditions this morning. Look at the sunshine there. 4 major centers on 31 degrees today. Lautoka's on 30, and Navassa, slightly hotter than the rest, is on 32. And more centers are likely to experience thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. Do keep your inner daredevil at bay and stay inside during this rainy weather. I've heard that being struck by lightning isn't something you want to try. Now, to feast your eyes on this magnificent scene behind me, taken by my colleague Rupeni, this is Devo Peak. That's weather. Have an enjoyable evening, and remember to stay safe.
Thanks so much for that, Genevieve. The headlines once again: 2 businesses, one in Nandi and one in Lautoka, have been destroyed in separate fires yesterday. Mobil Oil investigates an incident where the lid blew off from one of its tanks at the Walu Bay terminal outside Suva City. And Elections Minister Aisaid Qayyum confirms that the 7-member Electoral Commission should be announced soon. Now for this week's poll question, we're asking: can Fiji win the 2013 and 2014 IRB World 7 Series? Visit our FBC website to take part. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our Facebook page FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC News or simply hashtag FBC News. That's news for today. Until tomorrow, Nimo Demanda.
Nimbula, methango nimilote na isoro temboa. Nama kia umena rua kina ona na veka vi moniti kina vakarombuka. Rongo mena via sama kina viva ko barota kinin reko malolo. Eno Radio Fiji 1 na wongani pioniano. Ngai nama kia kina.
जहाँ हो प्यार का बसेरा और रिश्तों की खुशबू, वो है आपका अपना घर संसार. Join me on घर संसार, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. only on Radio Fiji 2.